recording, then let's pray, then we get started. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you this morning for granting us this opportunity to connect once again and to learn together. We invite your presence even as we go through this lesson, that you be our teacher, that you open our minds to know ourselves better and to become better equipped to serve your people and your interest better. We pray for them that are not able to make it to today's class, that you're going to be with them wherever they are, and that God is going to be well. Receive all praise for your goodness in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, maybe we can start by doing a brief recap of our last month's lesson. How was it? Any challenges? Any revelations? Any complaints? Any comments from our previous lesson? Yes, Frida.
In terms of the last lesson, I was just trying to wonder with this thing that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, what kind of leadership is that? And so I was trying to just draw it from now, just applying the lessons from the last session. And
yes,
I think that is a classic example of not servant leadership.
Definitely.
From a very broad perspective of it. Yeah. So I think we now all have a good example to draw from.
Yes, and thank you very much for raising that. Actually, it's very relevant for our class today. What kind of leadership do you think that is? Caroline, what kind of leadership, what kind of a leader do you think is Putin? Definitely we know he's not a servant leader. But where would we place him?
Maybe full of himself.
Yeah.
And trying to show might and power.
Yeah. As I watched the news and listened to several comments about him, he strongly comes out as a strong autocratic leader, authoritarian. I mean, look at a guy who will go against the whole world and doesn't care. Is ready to destroy another country just to make a point. It's very sad. It's very sad, and well, that's not a servant leader. Okay, but what about at home? What about at home? What kind of leadership are we being treated to around, even without going very far? Who is the best example of a servant leader among our crop of leaders? Who would you describe as a servant leader? Or not a servant leader? Anybody? Well, we will keep watching the space. Maybe we will be able to get their true colors once they assume the leadership positions they are aspiring to. All right, so today, as I had communicated on our wall, our focus today is on the leader's self-awareness, or generally the leader's awareness. And so let me share the PowerPoint notes, then we can continue from there. Okay, so there we are, the leader's self-awareness. What we want to do today is briefly define what self-awareness is. We will look at why it is important, and we'll look at some of the examples. We'll look at two illustrations from the Bible of one leader who is fully self-aware and another that lacks self-awareness. Then after that, we will look at some of your, we will go through your type indicators from MBTI, and then we'll be done from there. So let's ask ourselves, what is self-awareness? What is self-awareness? And self-awareness may be defined as the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection. Now, all of us have a subjective view of ourselves. And based on our subjective view of ourselves, sometimes we may think too highly about ourselves. We may overrate ourselves, and sometimes we may underrate ourselves. And when we do that, we have an imbalanced view of ourselves. When we see ourselves objectively, we are looking at ourselves from other people's perspective. We looking at ourselves, we have a realistic picture of who we are. The word reflection, we have come across that before, is about just thinking about ourselves. What are our qualities? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? Introspection is about self-examination. Self-examination. And so self-awareness is being conscious of our own character and the feelings. Just being aware of our internal makeup, how we are wired, how we react, how we approach life, how our prevailing and the dominant feelings that control us. When we become aware of that, then we can say we are gaining self-awareness. Self-awareness also involves understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, and our limitations. And basically, when we increase our self-awareness, when we are aware of who we are and what we are, then we get closer to viewing ourselves as other people view us and see us. Now, as I mentioned, we want to look at two illustrations of leadership and awareness. And the first one, we look at Jesus. And Jesus, we are reading from John chapter 13, verse 3 to 4. And verse 3 says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things unto his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. Now, underline the word knowing. That's another term for being aware. He was conscious that he came from the Father, that the Father had given him all things, and that he was going back there. Now, that is self-awareness. And because of that, he was able to rise from the table and lay down his garments, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. And then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with a towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, do you wash my feet?" Now, a brief context of this story is very important. We know this is during the Last Supper. It was customary in the event of meals. Before taking meals, it was customary to wash hands. And if you are receiving guests, it was customary to have somebody at the door who would welcome who would be there to welcome the people and wash their feet. And usually that person would be the lowest servant, would be the slave, would be a slave girl or somebody of the lower class. So guests were respected, were to be washed. And so they are coming to the Lord's Supper, and for some reason, there is no one to wash their feet. And so Peter comes, looks around, there is nobody to wash their feet, and he goes ahead and sits down. Then John does the same thing. And then comes Matthew, and then comes Andrew, and they all go and sit down, ready to be served. And Jesus is observing this. And then Jesus uses this as an opportunity to teach about leadership and self-awareness. And he takes, because he was conscious. Now, the question we want to ask ourselves is, why would the disciples not be willing to wash their feet or to wash each other's feet? And of course, the main one of the answers could be that washing other people's feet was considered a servant's, a slave's work. And no one wanted to be seen as a slave. There was, of course, the thinking, what will other people think about me if I am to wash other people's feet? And remember, also imagine these guys have been traveling in the desert with all this dust. Some people, some feet sweat. Now mix that sweat with the dust, and then you can imagine Peter, the leader, the self-declared leader, washing their feet. That is about, it's like humiliating. And for that reason, all the disciples choose that is not their job. But then here is Jesus, the master. He could have ordered Peter to wash. He could have ordered Bartholomew to wash their feet. He could have ordered any of the disciples to go and act as an usher and wash their feet. But he rises up and does this. What does this tell us? Jesus was so self-aware. He knew what people thought about himself did not matter and did not affect who he was. And, you know, lack of self-awareness causes us to be so conscious about what other people think about us. And sometimes as leaders, we want to impress people. We want to present an image sometimes of what not what we are. And so this is what is happening here. And so self-awareness, from what we learn from Jesus, gives us security. We are secure in ourselves. We know what we are good at. We know who we are. And we understand that what people think about us doesn't change who we are. And therefore we can go, and it kind of frees us from the fear of man, from the need to look, to appear, to present an image. Now, let's look at another example. And here we have the leader of the disciples, Peter. And we are reading from Matthew 26:35. The Bible says, Peter said to him, "Even if I die, I must die with you. I will not deny you." Jesus answered, "Will you lay down your life for me? Truly, truly, I say to you, the rooster will not crow till you have denied me 3 times. Okay, let's look at Peter. Of course, we know Peter is talkative and will make commitments, but I want us to consider this question. When Peter said, "Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you," was he sincere? Or was he intentionally lying? What do you think? What do you think?
I think he was speaking in the heat of the moment.
Yes.
And he may not have intended to lie. It may just have been overconfidence and just trying to show, this is how loyal I am.
Yes.
To you.
Yes, I actually think he was sincere. He meant what he said. He was willing to die with Jesus. He was. Then the next question is, did he actually die with Jesus? Did he made a commitment, all right? Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you, all right? Did he do what he committed to do? I mean, from our knowledge of this. Yes, Philip.
He denied Jesus like 3 times, a few hours later.
Yes, 3 times.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
once, not twice.
Yeah, before the cock crowed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now let's consider this. Then here is a man with good intentions. He loves his master. He is loyal. And he is willing to pay any price. But he makes a commitment which he is unable to fulfill. Now, this is a good example of lack of self-awareness. If Peter knew himself, he knew his strengths, his weaknesses, if he knew what he was capable of doing, do you think he would have made that commitment? I don't think he would, right? So this is an example when we lack self-awareness of who we are, then we are likely to overcommit. We are likely to give promises we cannot fulfill. We are likely to just get overboard at times. Now, this takes us to the next question. Why is self-awareness important? And the value of self-awareness is that it helps us as leaders to make better choices. We decide. And how do we make better choices? We make better choices based on our priorities, based on our strengths, based on our understanding of what we can do and what we can't do, right? It helps us to make better choices because we are under no pressure to impress anyone. We understand who we are, we understand our needs, we understand where we are going, and what other people think or what is better for them is better for them, not for us, okay? So the more we understand ourselves, the more we make better choices. For example, when you know your preferences, when you know what you like, take, for example, when we are young and we are making career choices, okay? Of course, at teenage, we have no clue. We are still discovering ourselves. And that is when we make big choices like the course we want to pursue in college. That's also the time later on, soon afterwards, we are making choices about our friends. We are making choices about our marriage partners, all right? And at that time, we know very little about ourselves. So later on, it's not strange to find somebody who chose to do engineering. They completed the course, but later on, they found that is not what they were wired for. That's not, in fact, they found that they don't like it. It kind of drains their energy because they chose the wrong career. Why did they choose the wrong career? Because they were not aware of their preferences. They were not aware of what motivates them and what demotivates them. Now, another importance of self-awareness is that it causes us to manage our own behavior and our relationships, okay? When you know your weaknesses, you are more likely to watch in the area of your weakness. When you know who you are able to know that the areas which you don't want, where you are not strong, and you can be honest and sincere with others. Self-awareness helps us as leaders to understand what we bring to our role, okay? As we're going to see in the next few points is that the awareness of our weaknesses. All of us, consider currently the role that you are playing in your workplace, in the family. All of us are playing roles, all right? And when we are aware of who we are, then we understand, do we have the motivation to do this? Do we have the skill? Do we have the energy? Do we have what it takes? Do we have the passion to go through with it? And so this helps us, even as we look for jobs and as we start businesses, we know this is not my kind of business. We know this is not the kind of my work environment, because you know your personal preferences. Again, self-awareness allows us to be realistic in our expectations about ourselves. There are things I don't expect in myself. I don't expect in much. In fact, the more aware I have become, the more I'm able to say no to very good things, because they are not, I'm not wired for them. I am not able to deliver in certain environments. And so the next question is, how do we develop self-awareness? How do you think we can develop self-awareness? Any idea? How do we know ourselves? What are some of the things we can do to get to know ourselves better? Anyone? How can we, is there anything we can do to get a better understanding of ourselves, get to know ourselves better? What do you think? Carolina, are you still there? What do you think? Yes, Ruth, I see you.
I think one way that we can be able to know, to be aware of ourselves, is talking to someone who's close to you and they know about you. Yeah, you'll get to know.
Yeah.
That's one way.
If you want to know yourself, and if you are married, ask your bedmate. They will tell you things you don't want to hear, but they are true. You don't want to hear them, but you need to hear them. So one way, as Ruth is saying, is just get feedback. Even our friends, they know things, they know our weaknesses, they know things we don't know about us. Okay, they know some strengths that we have, but we are not aware of them. So getting feedback from those who are close to us. Any other thing?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection, yeah.
Taking time to just reflect on yourself, character, you know,
yeah.
Maybe doing it frequently at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, you get to see how you make choices and you can infer as to who you are by reflecting.
Yeah, very powerful. Self-reflection, just getting time to think about yourself. Sometimes you have to look back and see choices you have made in the past. Look at the blunders you have made. Look at some of the things that you tried and they failed. Look at, you know, just looking internally, introspection, examining yourself. Anything else?
Can we say about that, like the tests we've just done?
Yeah. The test we've just done.
Yeah, the test we've been doing, the MBTI test.
Yeah.
That is one way of creating self-awareness.
Yes. And that's very true. That's our focus actually today. But yes, just taking tests like that. You can do the MBTI test. You can do the temperament test, other personality type tests, and those reveal ourselves. And also reading books on personalities. There's a lot we can learn about ourselves as we read. Okay, so we want to focus on the most popular and the most commonly used indicator, that is the Myers-Briggs type indicator, because this is very popular. It's used worldwide, and it describes our personality based on our preferences, looking at 4 dimensions that we're going to look. I provided you with a link, and I am glad you have been able to do that. Before we add to the test, I want us to look at the 4 major dimensions that they look. And on one extreme, we have the extroversions. We have the extroverted persons, people that are extroverted. So extroversion refers to where we get motivated from, where we draw energy from. And extroversion extroverts prefer to draw energy from the outer world of activity, people, and the things. These are people that become alive when they get involved in group activities. They love working as a group. They don't like staying alone. They love action, activity. They are always doing something. They're always handling. They like touching things, right? So that is our preference on one extreme. But on the other extreme, on the other end of the continuum, is the introversion. And the introversion refers to being inward looking at self from within. And these are the people that generally prefer to draw energy from the inner world of reflections, feelings, and ideas. These are thinkers. These are thinkers. The more they think, they evaluate, they consider options, they weigh, they evaluate their feelings. The more they do that, the more they get energized. But the others, the more they get involved in activity, the more they interact with the people, the more they get into doing things, the more energized they become. So that is on one continuum, and all of us will either tend towards being extrovert or being introvert. So that this test will, the first thing is checking, are you introverted or are you extroverted? Do you get motivated internally or externally? The next dimension is the dimension of sensing and the intuition. And this, on one extreme, there is the sensing type of people who prefer to focus on information gained from the 5 senses, right? So the 5 senses, you remember, there is the sense of touch, the sense of taste, the sense of hearing, the sense of seeing, you know, they get information, they read, they are using the 5 senses to gather information and apply it, weigh its practical application. And so there are some people that are just sensing type. But on the other extreme, we have the intuition. And the intuitive people prefer to focus on the patterns. They look at, they add 1 to 1 to see the direction something is moving on. They will listen to you and the way you are talking, and they will make conclusions based on the connections. So they focus on patterns, connections, and the possible meanings. All right. Then the third dimension is the dimension of thinking and the feeling. On one extreme, we have people who prefer to base decisions on logic. They are rational beings. They are objective. They analyze the cause and effect. That's logic. They will analyze what is causing this and what will be the effect of it. And that way, that's how they make decisions, by weighing logically. But on the other extreme, we have the feelers. They feel. And the feelers, or the feeling type, prefer to base decisions based on valuing. In other words, morality. The value. They are valuing processes by considering what is important to them and to other people. Is this important? What is more important? So they will weigh based on that. Even if something is not logical, but it has higher value to them, they will make decisions based on the value of the action rather than the logical consequence. Then the fourth dimension on one extreme is the judging, and the judging type prefer to, they like a planned, organized approach to life. And this, they prefer to have things decided for them. Okay? In other words, they prefer decisions that are made in advance. Make the decision, make it known, it becomes easy for them. They like routine. They like order and predictability. All right. Then we have the perceiving type, and the perceiving type likes a flexible, spontaneous approach, and they prefer to keep options open. Now, let's say for example, judging and perceiving. The judging, let's say we are beginning our class. At the beginning of the class, there are people who want to know, what will we learn? When will be the next class? When will we finish? And once they even want to know what will be the topic for each month. Those are judging. They like planned, organized, okay? But then we have the perceiving. These are guys who love fun. They want to be flexible. In fact, if you ask these guys, instead of having a whole year calendar of our classes, they want us to decide every month based on the way they are feeling each day, and they want something spontaneous. They love surprises, and they prefer to keep their options open. So actually the MBTI test is based on those 4 dimensions. And what it was checking is where on each of them you have. And after that, after taking the test, the scoring picks 16 personality combinations, 16 combinations of the preferences, which is now the ones you were seeing the letters like ESTP, INTP, and so on. So each type is associated with a unique set of behavioral characteristics and values, and those characteristics and values provide a useful starting point for our feedback and the self-exploration and the self-awareness, which is what we just did. Good. So let's start by looking at, did you do the test? Joseph and Gloria, you've completed the test, eh?
Yes, we did.
You did. Good.
Individually.
Individually.
You did it individually. That was good. That was good. Chama, were you able to do the test? Philip? What about Frida?
Yes, I took the test.
You took the test, yes.
Yes.
Ruth, did you take the test?
Yes, I took the test.
Good. And Frida?
Yes, I took the test.
Beautiful. That makes our work easy. Now, who wants to go first? Frida, let's go with you. What was your time?
Mine is the mastermind INTJ-A/INTJ-T.
INTJ. Let me see if I got that. INTJ. Okay. Did you generate the report?
I read the notes that came after.
Yes.
Vladimir Putin has the same personality. Yes, well, that's as far as I got in terms of reading. However, how do I do this? The traits.
Mm-hmm.
Do I summarize what is my
yes,
the traits?
you may summarize.
Okay, I am 90% introverted.
That is INTJ.
INTJ-A.
Yes.
It has 2-A/INTJ-T.
Okay, and I didn't understand what those really are. Did you get to know what they mean, the stroke?
No, not yet. Because when you now go to the notes, it's basically more about INTJ. So,
yes.
But I've not finished reading the notes, so maybe there'll be something later on.
Yeah.
So in terms of mind, 90% introverted. Energy, 91% intuitive.
Yes.
Nature, 100% thinking. And tactics, 81% judging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's look at this. That is INTJ, yeah?
Yes.
Let's briefly look at this and try to let me see what I want. Good. This is Frida. So I just want us to look at the strengths.
Okay.
Is this the correct one, Frida?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes. And so this is summarized as strengths that you bring is that you are not threatened by conflict or criticism. I would like to hear that your spouse confirm that. Usually self-confident, and I think yes, that is true. As far as we and I have observed, the INTJs take their relationships and the commitments seriously. Okay, again, correct. Generally extremely intelligent and capable, able to leave a relationship which should be ended, although they may dwell on it in their minds for a while, and they are interested in optimizing their relationships. Do you think, does every statement there, Frida, describe you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's look at the weaknesses. Let's look at the weaknesses. And then as we look at that, I want you to be thinking about how does this affect your leadership, both the strengths and the weaknesses. Okay. So we have weaknesses, not naturally in tune with others' feelings, and they may be insensitive at times. Frida, do you agree with that?
Yes.
Maybe,
I
probably
have been
you are.
accused of being insensitive.
Oh, have you been accused of that? Eh?
Yes, I have.
And the problem is sometimes you are not aware of it.
True.
Yeah. In fact, most of the weaknesses, ukitaka vita na watu anza kuwaambia their weaknesses, because many times we are not aware of our weaknesses. And that's why as leaders at times we become aggressive when people point out our limitations, which is now a leadership problem. So number two, may tend to respond to conflict with the logic and the reason rather than the desired emotional support.
True.
Not naturally good at expressing feelings and affections. Okay.
True. It's one of the things I'm working on this year.
Yes. Tendency to believe that they are always right. Okay. Tendency.
50.
A tendency to be unwilling or unable to accept blame. Their constant quest to improve everything may be taxing on relationships. Okay. And this is tough for us as parents, because I remember a story I was told of a primary school kid that is scored 450 out of 500. The boy went home very excited to the dad and showed the results. And the father looked at him very sternly and asked him, 450, what were you doing? Where did these other 50 marks go? Now you see, and that is a tendency.
Yes.
Way they look at things, they look at from the top, not from below. In other words, this parent is looking at 500, not from 1. This kid has worked so hard, as he scored 100, 200, 400, 50 marks. Now that's something. But the parent is looking at 500 coming downwards. Now, this is a perception issue, okay? Now, then there's the constant quest, okay, tendency to hold back part of themselves, okay? I think that your spouse should be able to tell us that. Now, think about it. Frida, how do you think, and the rest of the class, what potential challenges do you think, from a leadership perspective, what potential problems or challenges do you think these weaknesses will present? I'm sure you have worked with somebody like this, either in the workplace or at home or anywhere else. Now think about it from a follower perspective. What kind of challenges would these weaknesses present for Frida or for an NTJ? Frida, yes.
Someone that is difficult to please.
Yes.
Or live up to the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to connect and agree on logic, but you're not really sure if this person likes you or makes that emotional connection.
Yeah.
And then be someone who can also be very harsh when it comes to maybe say giving back feedback.
Yeah.
There may be a tendency to be harsh and not care about how the information is taken, or even about how the person receiving the feedback feels.
Yes.
About it, yes.
That's right. Anyone else? Imagine you are working with an INTJ as your boss, as your leader. What are some of the frustrations you expect?
Mwalimu, I share the same traits with Frida.
Wow, that's great.
Yes. And so here, some of the challenges here on weaknesses, I think when you try to raise your views, the leader will not be sensitive enough to listen to your views or what you're airing.
Okay. That's right. So now when we think about you improving your leadership, this is an area you may want to focus on. Most of your leadership challenges, especially with your followers, will arise from these weaknesses. Sometimes, especially let's say, for example, if you are insensitive to people's feelings, most of the times you may find that you cannot motivate them. You are unable to inspire them because we connect with people from an emotional connection. Now, the tendency to believe that you are always right, again, that makes it difficult for you to receive feedback or to accept. And the people will tend not to tell you the truth, will tend to withhold their feedback from you because they know you won't accept. You will, in fact, you have been in places where, especially people who are extreme INTJs, they are called Mr. Right or Miss Right, because whatever they do, they have no way of changing their view. Tendency to, or the unwillingness to accept blame, that is another one. None of us likes a leader who will not be sorry, who will not acknowledge that they are wrong. And so you can see this is where your greatest challenge is. And the good news is that once you are aware of this, now you can become intentional because you know your weaknesses. You know, if you know you are insensitive at times, you can consciously and deliberately bring yourself to be sensitive. You can, if you are an extremely logical person and you rely on reason, of course, that understanding will bring you to the fact that some people require more emotional support than reasoning. And some people learn emotionally. So that awareness, the first point is getting aware that this is who I am. Now, notice that actually you cannot eradicate these weaknesses because they are born weaknesses. They are part of your DNA. But you can learn to manage them. And that is the purpose of learning leadership, learning to manage our weaknesses so that they do not sabotage us. So that is very important. But then for Joseph and Frida, we need also to notice that these guys bring into the table many strengths. Look at this, not threatened by conflict. Now that's a strength. And when you bring this into leadership, of course, if it is balanced, that means, now, for example, you may have been in a situation where a leader doesn't have the courage to confront somebody who is going wrong. And everybody is asking, why isn't somebody doing something? Because there are people who fear conflict, and they would rather just let things dwell there, whether in marriage, in the workplace. Conflict and criticism are part of it. And the best leaders are those who know they will be criticized anyway, whether they do something or they don't do it, they will be criticized. And that helps them to give feedback without fear of rejection, without fear of criticism. Self-confidence is another very powerful strength for this personality type, because people love to follow a leader who is self-confident, who, you know, is self-aware. I mean, they look like even when they are being challenged, and when there is an overwhelming problem, people look at the leader to see. That's how they weigh. And when they see the leader is courageous, then they are able to keep following. The one taking their relationships and the commitments seriously, that means this is a leader. Once you give them an assignment, they will get it done. Okay, they take care of their relationship, whether it is family relationships, workplace relationships. They take them seriously. They're generally extremely intelligent and capable. That means have a great potential, able to live relationships. Okay, that will differ on how you applied in the workplace. Interested in optimizing their relationships, and they are good listeners. Now, interestingly, many leaders are not good listeners, and the people love a leader who listens and pays attention to them. So that is the INTJ, great strengths and the considerable weaknesses to deal with there. Okay, Philip, are you there? Chama, are you there? I would want to see yours. Okay, before Chama comes back, who wants to go next?
Gloria?
Yes, Gloria has been volunteered by the spouse.
Okay, mine is
Field Marshal.
The Field Marshal. ENTJA/ENTJT.
ENTJ.
TJ, yeah.
ENTJ. Okay. Let's look at that one. Good. The marshal, the field marshal, the executive. Is it ENTJ?
Yes, yes.
This is the correct one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at this one. We have the extroverted thinking with the introverted intuition. Primarily mode of living is focused externally, deals with things rationally and logically. Secondary mode is internal, takes things primarily via intuition. Natural born leader, lives in a world of possibilities. Quick to verbalize their opinions and decisions. Okay, let's look at the strengths. Genuinely interested in people's ideas. Enthusiastic and energetic. Takes their commitments very seriously.
That is true.
Interested in doing the right thing. Very good with money.
Very true.
Joseph, do you agree with that?
Yes, very true.
Very true. Yeah, let her manage the finances. That will save you a lot of trouble. Extremely direct and straightforward.
Correct.
Is that correct, Joseph?
Yes, correct.
Able to live relationships without looking back. I'm sure you have been praying for this one.
Looking at my past, yes, that is true. But now,
of course,
I'm here to say.
And able to take constructive criticism well, and emphasize, underline constructive. Okay, let's look at those strengths and point out what does an ENTJ bring into the table, into leadership role. How are these strengths? How do they contribute to leadership effectiveness? Anybody?
I think they bring effectiveness to the leadership role. Yes. Because clearly are able to listen to their followers' views. They are able to turn a negative to a positive. Yeah, so I think they'll become effective leaders.
Yeah. Each of these strengths, yes. Yes, go ahead.
Where they take their commitment very seriously. So I think that's a plus.
Yeah.
And they are good with resources. So that means the company or whatever they are being given to protect, they can do it with a high capability.
Yeah.
And I think I like the way they are straightforward. They go direct to the issue. And yeah.
Yes. And all of these, this is each one of these is an asset to leadership effectiveness. Look at interested in people's ideas. People like to be listened to. People love to say, to see the leader implementing their ideas. Of course, the enthusiasm and the energy comes in as a motivational thing to the followers. And of course, this is a kind of a person who can party a responsibility, they will get it done. Their commitment to doing right, that means these are less likely to become corrupt, which is a major problem that we have in our country, because they are interested in doing things right. That means they will avoid shortcuts. the very good with the money, that is about management. They are good managers of resources, as Joseph is saying, and extremely direct and forward. They don't talk about people behind the back. They will just come straight. They are able to turn conflict into positive lessons. Now, that is very critical, because in any relationship, there is going to be conflicts. And conflicts always lead, if they are not managed well, they lead to organizational splits, misunderstandings, and people leaving. People leave. And sometimes the people that leave are the best, the best leaders and the best contributors. Able to take constructive criticism, that means they are willing to learn and move on. I think that is great. Let's look at the areas of improvement that they need to look at. Their enthusiasm for verbal debates can make them appear argumentative. Joseph, what is your take on that?
I think that's true.
Gloria, would you agree?
Actually, I just read this, and I was going through the report, and I think I need to perform self-reflection and see this other side of myself.
Yes. Now, for you,
true.
this is an awareness point.
Yeah.
Because others, this is what others see in you. You don't see it in yourself, and yet it will affect. Sometimes people, instead of raising points with you, they may decide just to keep quiet because they don't want another. They call it an argument. To you, it is not an argument. It's that you are clarifying. Okay. But when it is taken further, it could be a demotivator to the people. Tendency to be challenging and confrontational. Again, this can be a weakness or a strength. And again, if you become too confrontational, if you are too confrontational, people will try to avoid you. And the people that are avoiding you are not good followers. Tendency to get involved in win-lose conversations. That means the ENTJ has to win the argument. And the way they can win argument is for the other party to lose. Okay, that's how they see it. Now, in leadership, you got to be very careful because you can win the argument and they lose the people, lose their support. And that's what happens. Nobody likes losing, whether it is an argument, whether it is losing money, whether it is losing a job. No one loves to lose. And so sometimes as a leader, you want to allow other people to win. Even when you feel like you have won, you may want to just allow them to feel like they are the one who have won. A tendency to have difficulty listening to others. That is common to most leaders, not good listeners. And that means you got to cultivate, to remind yourself, listen, listen, listen. Now, one of the reasons leaders don't listen is because while other people are talking, they are busy cooking the answer they are going to give them. So they don't listen. They give their point, and when the other person opens their mouth, they are preparing their answer at the same time. Tendency to be controlling. Again, people don't love people control. Extremely high standards and expectations. ENTJs will set high expectations, very high standards for themselves, but also for others. And whether it is your children, your spouse, once people keep on trying, and the more they try, the more you raise the bar, they reach a point where they decide you are impossible to please. And once people decide you cannot be pleased, then they stop trying to reach your standards. Not naturally in tune with people's feelings, okay? So tendency to make hasty decisions. Of course, most extroverts, not most extroverts. Extroverts will just make, because they don't think through their decisions. In fact, they make those decisions intuitively. You can see that N there is for intuition. They have got strong intuition, so they just decide intuitively that they are not going to change their mind, by the way, because they are not going to think about it again. So because of that, they can make hasty decisions that cost them a lot. So for the ENTJ, to improve your leadership effectiveness, increase your leadership effectiveness, you have to work on this. First of all, become aware. When people look at you, when people interact with you, this is what comes across. And this does not motivate people to hang around you. Doesn't motivate people to follow you. So the more you tune yourself in this area, the better you become as a leader. Okay, let's look at what does success mean to ENTJ? You can read that on your own. Potential problem areas you may want to look at: being sensitive to people's needs, assuming that your ideas are the only right ones. You've got to evaluate the other people's ideas objectively. Angered when confronted by situations which require feeling judgments, becoming engrossed in a plan or ambition that personal needs and the needs of others are ignored, taking decisions not made in agreement with their rational beliefs as personal rejection. Those again are areas you may want to address. Notice that they may be easily manipulated by others via agreement with rational attitudes. So what did I want? Yes, I wanted this part. ENTJ leadership. You are decisive, forceful, strategic, and you like to take charge. You're independent and critical thinker who has a strong drive and desire for excellence. You often rise to positions of leadership and management quickly in your workplace. You demand excellence from yourself and set high standards. I think we mentioned that. Good. Caroline? Caroline, are you ready with yours? Yours was what? Hello, Caroline. Check your mic if you are speaking. So that is. Okay, Chama, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. Let's look at yours. What was yours?
INTP A.
Did you say I?
A. Yes, I.
Are you sure?
The thinker.
Are you sure?
I was surprised. Yeah, even though test ilisema, not me.
Yeah. I would have expected an E, but yes, I actually come to think of it. I think that could be. You're saying is I
NTP A or INTP T.
That is the thinker.
Yes, the thinker. Yes, the thinker.
The thinker. Good. Let's look at Chama's the thinker. Good. Let's look at the thinker, Philip. Here you are the thinker. Stands for introversion, intuition, thinking, and perception. And INTP's personalities are analytical, objective, and reasonable in their behavior. They spend a lot of time in their heads. Chama, this doesn't look like you. Researching topics, making connections, and attempting to figure out how things work. But you will tell us, you are the best judge of yourself. We like researching new theories and ideas. Chama, are you sure about this?
Yeah, that's the answer I was given.
Okay, but does it resonate with who you are?
I feel like lately I'm like that.
Okay, let's look at the strengths that you bring on the table. They feel love and affection for those close to. Yes, Philip, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. So look at that point. Does it describe you?
Yes.
With almost childlike in its purity. Wow, I like that. Generally laid back, easygoing, willing to defer their mates or to prefer mates.
I don't have mates, but I have friends. That is also true.
Yes. Approach things with interest, which interest them very enthusiastically.
That's true.
That's true. Okay. Richly imaginative and creative. Is that true?
Yes.
Do not feel personally threatened by conflict or criticism.
I'm not sure about that. Personally threatened is a bit tricky, but I don't like conflict or criticism.
You don't like it?
Actually, I don't like conflict. I don't have a problem with criticism, but I don't like conflict.
Okay. Usually not demanding with the simple daily needs.
Yeah, very true.
Very true. Wow. Yeah. Good. So that is true. Then let's look at okay, let's look at what does that bring into the table as a leader. The affection for those close, that is a good. That means you value people either you work with, friends, family, and so on. And that makes it easy for people to follow you. Generally laid back and easy. I'm not sure about that. Approach things with which interest them enthusiastically. Of course, enthusiasm is a plus for leadership. Richly imaginative and creative. I do not feel personally threatened by conflict. They do not feel personally threatened by conflict. Usually not demanding with the daily needs. Okay, let's see then the weaknesses that you may need to work on. Now, the INTPs are not naturally in tune with other people's feelings, and so they are slow to respond to emotional needs. Philip, would you say that it describes you? Your mic is muted.
Not naturally in tune with others' feelings. I feel like I'm in tune with other people's feelings.
Yeah, of course, 1 or 2 points may be off, not naturally good at expressing their own feelings and emotions. Again, I'm not sure about that, Philip. I think you are expressing.
I don't know, because I feel like the thing with this personality, when I was answering it, I was approaching it from where I am at now.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so yeah, like I feel like lately, like for the past few years, that's actually the second point makes sense to me.
Not naturally good at expressing their own feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. Tend to be suspicious and distrusting of others. Is that true?
Not, it's not innate. It's not innate. It's not something, but come to think of it, that's true.
That's true.
Coming to think of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Difficult living bad relationships.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Tend to blow off conflict situations by ignoring them, or else they blow up in heated anger. What
I
about
tend
them?
to ignore them. Yeah.
You ignore them.
Yeah, I tend to ignore the situation.
Okay.
Or avoid it.
Or avoid it.
Yes.
Now tell me, Philip.
Yes.
Why are you aware that these are weaknesses?
Well,
let's say previously. Previously, were you aware that these are actually weaknesses?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look at them like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so actually, one way you can improve in your leadership effective and in your life is to look at each of these, and every time you are confronted, because weaknesses, just like strengths, natural weaknesses, just like strengths, they are instinctive. You just react, all right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you find something happens, you respond in a certain way.
Yeah.
And when you respond that way, it will affect the outcome of what you are doing, and especially in relationships. So this is the area you need to work on, in modifying your reactions, your attitudes, and your outlook towards life. Because if you can work on these, given your strengths, then you stand a chance of getting further in life.
Yes, sawa.
Now, about leadership.
Yeah.
Here are a few things. The INTPs are quiet, analytical, strategic leaders who have a clear vision of their future. I don't know whether that could be said true, but you have that potential. They prefer to stay out of the spotlight. Now, I'm not sure about this, Philip.
You'd be surprised because, for example, like lately, I'm the youth chairman in church. So, but I nobody knows. I tend to just work from the background.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So like I think sijakuwa nyumbani miaka kadhaa bwana.
Yeah, I think you went through metamorphosis.
Yeah, so I mean, naturally, I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm not sure how you would put this, but who I was, let's say like around 10 years ago, and now I think, yeah, I've just really changed a lot. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, because definitely like that one for out of the spotlight is definitely true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So Well, I wasn't aware of that. I thought you liked being on the limelight and being on the spotlight and shining out there. That's how I would have described you. But anyway, that's good. Now, often lead or manage out of necessity more than anything else. In other words, what that means is they only take leadership role when they can't avoid it. That's what that means. Does that describe you?
That is probably the most true statement. Like at a year youth, I'm just here because there's no one else. I don't want to be here. Yeah, I'm just here.
What? I see. Okay, now there is good news here. They are competent in what they do, and they expect the same level of excellence from their followers as well. That is those are positives. Those are assets for leadership. So keep working on your strengths, and especially focus on your weaknesses, and learn. We can all learn, even our natural weaknesses. We can fine tune them. We may not eliminate them, but we can learn to respond to life in the opposite direction. Okay, so that is Philip Chama. We want to go to Ruth. Are you ready?
Yes.
And yours is which one?
Mine is just a minute. Mine is INFP. INFP dash A.
Okay, let me try to trace INP.
FP.
FP. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me share this. Good. So this is INP. That is that's Ruth. The idealist. Your primary mode of life or living is focused internally. You are a thinker. You like imagining and thinking just inwardly. Your secondary mode is external, where you take things primarily via intuition. Let's go to the strengths. Okay. Warm, concerned, and caring towards others. Sensitive and perceptive about what others are feeling. Loyal and committed. You want lifelong relationships. Deep capacity for love and caring. Driven to meet others' needs. You strive for win-win situations. You are nurturing, supportive, and encouraging. You are likely to recognize and appreciate others' need for space. You are able to express yourself well. and you are flexible and diverse. Now, Ruth, look at those strengths. Do they describe you?
Yes, they describe me.
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them. Which one least describes you there?
The last one, able to express themselves well.
Oh, you are not, that there you are not very good, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look at this, Ruth, this means, look at number one. What that means is that you are concerned and you care about others, which therefore makes it easy for people to be drawn to you. In other words, you are able to draw followers very easily. And that goes for number two, sensitivity and the perception about what that others are feeling. Because as long as you can do that, you can respond appropriately. Loyalty and the commitment, again, that is very important. That means you are able to keep your friends. Now, this is very important in leadership, and especially in political leadership. I usually say that Raila would have been a president of this country probably 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but he has one weakness: disloyalty and the lack of commitment. He's an inability to retain friends. You remember the Pentagon. You remember all through, and of course, the politics of Kenya is not about commitment or loyalty, it's about self-interest. But when you are a leader and you are loyal and committed, that gives you the ability to keep your friends. And that is very important for leadership. Of course, deep capacity for love and caring, that means, of course, the people you love, like your family. Driven to meet other people's needs, that definitely naturally predisposes you to be a servant leader. Look at these, strive for win-win situations. That's very powerful. That means you can solve conflicts without losing the people, because everyone feels they have won. Nurturing and supportive and encouraging, recognizing. You know, Ruth, you have very great potential for leadership success and effectiveness. In other words, for you succeeding in any leadership, especially the people relationship aspect, your people skills are definitely extremely well and advanced. So that is the strength that you bring. Now, weaknesses, what do we see here? Let's look at some of the weaknesses that you need to work with. Now, most INFPs will exhibit the following weaknesses with regard to relationship issues. They may tend to be shy and reserved. And Ruth, what do you say about that?
That is true.
That's true. They don't like to have their space invaded.
True.
Extremely dislike conflict and criticism.
That's true.
Again, underline extreme. That means anybody with a disapproval or look will be treated as a suspect. Now, strong need to receive praise and a positive affirmation. Okay, is that also true?
Yes.
May react very emotionally to stressful situations.
Very true.
Have difficulty living a bad relationship. Some of those will be probably more, will affect you more in your family relationship more than anything else. Having difficulty scolding or punishing others. So that means for you to implement discipline is a challenge. And sometimes leaders and the parents have to do this. These are things you may not like, but you've got to do them. You tend to be reserved about expressing your feelings. Perfectionist tendencies may cause them not to give themselves enough credit, and the tendency to blame others for problems and hold everything on their own. So Ruth, as we have seen, as your strengths show, you have very great potential. But again, you have equally many improvement issues that could neutralize and sabotage you from reaching your potential. So you need to work on this. The first thing, as we said, just become aware, consciously, keep on revisiting this. Understand that in any relationship, whether you like it or not, these will affect you. And when they take up, when they show up, they undermine your ability to lead effectively. So become aware and start intentionally reacting in the opposite direction. Instead of feeling shy, just gather the courage and go forward and express yourself, and take conflict as part of life. Criticism, if you are dead, you will not be criticized, because people don't criticize dead people. But as long as you are alive, expect those things. So work on this, and you can be sure you're going to be a great leader. Okay, let's look at the last one. Caroline, are you ready? Give us your type. Caroline, if you can hear us, unmute your mic, and let's get started with yours. Fortunately, yours is the last one, unless there are others that I cannot see here.
Hi, I did my personality, but I can't quite agree with the results.
Okay. Did you do it online?
Yes, I did it online.
Okay. Now, what you will do, you can take the one in this in your notes that I've given you. Yes. And compare whether you are getting the same thing. That will help you to know whether the results you got are true. But before you do that, tell us why you don't agree with the results.
I don't agree with the results because I think one of the things of INTJ, it's like they are not sensitive to other people's feelings and emotions.
I
think I'm very sensitive.
And you feel you are sensitive. You say it is INTJ.
INTJ stroke INTJ T.
Okay, let's look at INTJ.
Because at least I think I'm a bit phlegmatic, so.
Did we look at INTJ? I thought we looked at INTJ.
Yes, we did. INTJ.
Yes.
I'll be just a moment.
Confirm.
Just a minute. The point I can't agree. It is not naturally in tune with others' feelings.
Okay.
And be insensitive at.
Okay.
That is quite opposite.
Okay. And what about the other areas? Are there areas you agree with? Do you agree with the other reports?
I think just a moment. I think I'll go with I'll look at the eyes again.
Yeah.
And see what perfectly fits.
Okay. So what you will do, you may need to take the test again, right?
Okay.
And of course, if it is only 1 point, which you are disagreeing with, that is okay. It is expected there. It could be just based on how you chose your answers. So one or two things that you don't agree with, do not nullify the results. So that should not worry you. But if there are several areas that you find it doesn't describe you, then you may want to take the test again. And once you do it again, compare the results you get. Sometimes also, sometimes we have weaknesses or strengths that we are not aware of. So when it comes, it's like it's a shock. You follow this. We dealt with the Philip Chama, who is my son, and some of I would have disagreed with the test, but then that is who he is. Okay, so that should not worry you. Otherwise, thank you very much. I don't know whether we have any question now concerning self-awareness and the test and its impact on our personal growth and the leadership development. Any question? To the class, that is to the class. A question or a comment or a reaction about what we have dealt with today.
I just wanted to comment.
Yes, please, Frida.
After you said.
Okay, your mic is, yes, thank you.
While I was doing the test, I also shared the same with my husband, and we have, while I'm introverted, he's extroverted, and it was just like extreme contrasts.
Yes.
So I was very keen to hear about Joseph and Gloria and to also see how this plays out within them, not necessarily as leadership, but also at home, because leadership does begin at home. So my comment was the feedback from Joseph and Gloria was quite eye-opening.
Yes.
I will be having we will be having a further discussion with my husband.
That's right.
And just trying to look at our various reports and see where there are areas of contrasts and also areas where we complement each other.
Okay.
So it was a very interesting test. Yes, good. I liked it.
Thank you. Joseph and Gloria, to you.
We're just smiling here. But I think I like the fact that we took the test individually
Yes.
And I was getting to get the comments with everyone else in the class. And I must say that this class is going to send me to a journey of self-awareness, real self-awareness. And that means I am yet to discover myself fully. And I think this is a journey. I may never get to 100%, but self-awareness, not only in leadership, but also in our interactions with our children, with people in our houses, our colleagues, and everyone around us is important, so that at least we know why we do what we do.
Yeah.
And I want to thank my husband here for being brutally honest. And I think moving forward, we shall shape ourselves to be even better people. Thank you.
Yes. Did you find yourself on both ends of the continuum, being the opposites of each other? Like Frida said, her and her husband were like on the two end sides of the continuum.
Okay, yes, we have always known we are very different and very opposite. And I think the test just
that's right,
came out as a confirmation. And so we have always been aware of our contrasts.
Yeah. Well, that is expected. By the way, this works always in marriage. It's very rare to find people who are both introverted marrying each other, because the reason we are attracted to people who are extreme opposites of who we are is that such people do not remind us of our weaknesses. If you married somebody who was like you, what you see in them is their weaknesses, which remind you of your weaknesses, which you do not like. And so that is very interesting. Our book, the book that we are reading today, is called Why You Act the Way You Do by Tim LaHaye. Some of you may have read it, but it is MBIT, but now from the perspective of our temperaments. It also identifies 16 combinations of temperaments. And as you read that book, it's going to become even more. You're going to understand your spouse better and realize that one significance of understanding who you are and self-awareness is the ability to understand others. Because leadership is about leading not only yourself, but others. And if you don't know yourself, then it's very difficult to appreciate, to know others and appreciate them. So this lesson is meant not only to create your personal awareness, but it helps you to understand other people. Because from today onwards, every time you meet with a person, you'll be able to say, that is an extrovert, that is an introvert. And because you know their weaknesses and their strengths, you can relate with them personally, at a personal level. You know what to expect from them and what you can't expect from them. And therefore, they don't surprise you much if they react in a certain way. So it's my prayer that even as we continue doing this, we're going to grow in all the areas of our lives, and especially become better leaders who are able to influence others, because that is what leadership is all about. Otherwise, thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, Frida, ask.
Is there a difference between temperament and personality?
Basically, they are just the same, not much difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you too. I have already posted the book and the audio. So you should be able to get working as soon as possible. Otherwise, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure having you in class and interacting with you. Otherwise, have a blessed month ahead.
A quick one, Mwalimu.
Yes.
The next class is in person.
Yes, we wanted to meet in person.
What is the timing? The same time?
You want us to start at 9, of course. In-person class takes more time with interactions, and ROG usually organizes for a cup of tea for us. So if we start at 9, that would be
okay.
Good. Yes. And talk to the other guys, and if we can actually just create time to be in that class. It's the first time we're going to be meeting person to person, so I would appreciate to see most of you in attendance.
Okay, okay.
Okay, God bless you. See you next month.